Next up, we're going to go over the squatting section.
All right, so with our barbell squats, there are 3 types of squats, but we're only going to look at 2 types in our first on-ramp session. We're going to look at the back squat and the overhead squat. So the first thing you're going to need to take your client through is the array of barbells that we have. Now in the PT section, we have a lot of different choices. Over in like the class section, we just have a big rack of 45s and a big rack of 35s, but it's worth mentioning to them all the different types we have up here. So Sam, all of the short bars, so all of these ones with the black tops and the 2 silver ones, they're all a lot shorter, and if you pick them up, you'll notice they're quite light. These are only 15 pounds. So these are like the little tiny training bars. We use them in the kids class as well, and they're great for developing skills. Now, this one with the white stripe here, we only have one of these. This is the 25-pound training bar. So this is a really great one to take your clients through in on-ramp. I typically use that one the most in on-ramp, whether it's for barbell skills or for squats. So this is the one we'll probably be using today in our on-ramp session. All of the ones with the yellow stripes and all of the yellows in the back of class are 35 pounds. You can see they're shorter than the 45-pound bars too. So all the shorter bars there, those are 35 pounds. Those are the women's standard barbell. And finally, all of the barbells with the blue stripes and the bigger ones on the rack in the back there, those are the 45-pound bars. Those are the men's standard bar. Those are also what your client would be used to if they worked out like in a commercial gym. That's typically the barbell that most gyms will have. It's pretty rare to find the other types of barbells in typical gyms. So next thing you'll need to take your client through, once you select the barbell, we're going to go at the 25-pound bar today, is how to set up their rack. And this goes with the whole autonomy thing of having them ready to jump into class and to feel a little bit less intimidated. A big part of class, I'd say probably about half the days of the week, we'll be taking the bar out of the rack in some way, whether it's for back squats or for strict press or for any kind of barbell skill. A lot of the time it's going to come out of the rack. So we got to make sure they're comfortable with moving the J-hooks. The J-hooks are usually a bit heavier than they think. They're iron, so they've got some good weight to them. And you can just show them that you just rotate them out to the side and then pull them out. You can see the mechanic of it. It's pretty simple. So once they're comfortable with holding onto the J-hooks and moving them around, you got to show them how to choose their height. The way that you're going to select the height for them is when the barbell is sitting in the rack, so right where the bottom part of this J-hook is, you want it right around their collarbone or right around their shoulders. You don't want it to be too high, close to like their chin or their nose, because then they'll have to get on their tippy toes to get it out of the rack. And that's what we don't want. If they've got 500 pounds in the bar, the last thing we want them to do is walking it back to the rack and struggling to try to get it up onto the hooks. So if you're unsure, err on the side of a little bit lower, but usually collarbone is kind of where we want to be. So we'll have Sam step over here. He's going to do his best to guess. And remember, it's the bottom part of that J-hook. It's not like where the hole is. It's where the bottom part of that cup sits. So Sam's going to try to adjust his J-hooks to be at the appropriate height, and then we're going to put the barbell on the rack, and we'll see if he guessed correctly. Also, getting them even on the first try is a pretty tough, assignment. So go ahead and grab that bar there for me, Sam. We'll throw it in the rack, and we'll see if that is at the right height, and if it's even. That looks pretty good. And if I just have him step to the bar, and we'll just see if that looks appropriate. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So now his barbell is all set up. If they have any questions, you can field their questions. Any questions about the setup there, Sam? Perfect. And this setup will be the same for your back squats, your front squats, your strict press. This will all be the same height. So now we have our 2 types of squats to look at. We're going to start with our back squat. So Sam, have you ever back squatted before with a barbell? Back in high school. So it's been a couple years then. So for your back squat, first thing we need to do is we need to get underneath the bar. This is going to be interesting because I'm not very tall, but you can use the knurling to make sure you center yourself, because the bar is not always going to be centered in the rack, but the knurling will always show you where the middle of the bar is. So I like to place my thumbs on the knurling so I know where the middle is. I'm going to get under the bar, and I'm going to place the bar at the base of my neck on my trap muscles. So I don't want to have it on the bones of my spine. That's not so good. It's going to be a hair lower. And this can be a tricky position to try to help your client figure out. So you can take some time here to make sure they've got it in the right place. But basically, when you pull your arms back, your trap muscles are going to pop up a little bit. And that's the kind of shelf that you want to rest the bar on. So again, not on the bones of your neck, not on that vertebrae that sticks out. We're just underneath that. I'm going to place my feet under the bar, and I'm going to stand up, and I'm going to step out of the rack. And once I'm clear of the J-hooks, I'm going to get into my squatting stance. Now for your back squat, Sam, it's actually going to begin with a little bit of a hip hinge. So I'm going to bend my knees, I'm going to tip forward just a little bit while keeping my back nice and flat, and then from here I can drop into my squat. I'm going to try to get my butt down below parallel if I can. Knees stay out, heels stay down, and I drive back up through the bar. So you'll notice that your chest is not as upright as it was for the wall ball squats. I'm actually looking down a little bit. And that's just because of the nature of where the weight is sitting on your back. Once you're finished your set, you can walk it back in and step out from under the bar. So that is the back squat technique. Do you want to pause it or? Okay, so for the overhead squat technique, this one is definitely a lot trickier. You may need to grab some assistance for their heels, like putting their heels up onto a little riser, only because, and you can tell them this, the overhead squat is the most challenging squat that they will learn. You need a lot of mobility, a lot of confidence, a lot of shoulder strength to achieve this squat. So any kind of squat depth will give them a nice high five for that. It's going to begin like your back squats. You're going to position the bar the same. You're going to get it up out of the rack. You're going to step back. Now from here, they need to widen their hands out. Now this can be a little bit different from person to person. Some people like to get their hands all the way out to the sides of the bar. Some people keep it kind of around the knurling mark. I'm going to be a little bit past the knurling mark. Next step is to pop the bar up overhead. Now this overhead position is very important that they do it properly. I don't have the bar in front of my eyes. I also don't have my head way through. I want that bar to be sitting past my head, just over like the crown of my head. That's the position we want the bar to sit in. And I'm also going to try to rotate my armpits forward. That's called external rotation, and that's the safest place for your shoulders to support this barbell. Now from here, where your back squat had a tip forward, your overhead squat is going to be super duper upright. I need to keep my chest really tall for this in order to get down deep into that squat. Armpits are still rotated forward, and I stand tall. My arms are in like this Y shape supporting this bar overhead. And if they do try to tip forward, their squat will look like this. And this is a lot more rickety, and that's what you'll usually see when they first try this out. And that is where raising the heels can give you the assist. It helps to keep you more upright in your squat. Now once you're finished this, bar comes back down to the shoulders, and we bring the bar back into the rack. So it begins and ends like a back squat, except you need to get the bar up overhead. Keep your chest up, armpits out, all that stuff. Yes, Sam?
Do you want to explain the external
Oh, yeah, sure.
a little bit more?
So, super important part of lots of different types of the weightlifting. Snatches, overhead squats, handstands, push-ups, pull-ups, a lot of different items that we do. You're going to want external rotation. And what that looks like is thumb out and to the back. I've got elbow pit, up to the ceiling, and I've got armpit rotated forward. Internal rotation looks like this, and it's where the shoulder rounds through. My thumb is pointing down to the ground. This is what you'll see a lot of the times in overhead squats. As you get closer to the ground, your shoulders are going to want to rotate through to make up for a lack of mobility in your upper back and in your lats. So we want to try to keep palms up, almost is what you can think about it as. It's very tough to keep yourself rotated in that way, but it's a lot safer for your shoulder. Internal rotation is where you can get lots of injuries. So we want to encourage them to keep shoulders rotated out and back.